Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I thought I'd pop by and we'd just create a quick card with my new release. So I'm going to use Alpha Floral's TE32. I've done quite a few Christmas cards, so I thought I'd have a go at just doing a simple card. So I've no idea where it's going, mainly because I've got nothing much out really, and I've not prepped anything. The only thing I've got is a piece of Pink Frog super smooth card, 300 GSM, and it's 4 inches by 6 inches. Now on the Alpha Floral stamp set, the TE32, we've got this little rectangle here, so I'm going to use that first. Now actually you could quite easily make a Christmas tree from this, couldn't you? Because you could just cut it up till it's got different sizes going up. So you could quite easily make a Christmas tree, no problem at all. So what I'm going to do is we're going to stamp this in the Nocturne ink. I've just walked the dogs and my hands are freezing. It's so cold. I know we're a society of talking about the weather, but I am absolutely frozen. And we filled a skip as well, because getting the garden ready for winter. So the skip is all filled because I'm doing a tidy up like I normally do. So I'm going to add the little rectangle here that you can add your text stamps to. So you can add your own words in here if you wish as well. I've also done some pattern building with this design as well. Let me see if I can actually, do you know, I always decide I need to reach some cards and then I can't reach them. Let's grab this. Let's move that out of the way. So I have got sort of one card here that we've done like this one here. You can have sort of wonderful pattern building and you can add your wording inside, and that card showcases beautifully just how you can use the rectangle. Or this one where I've used it as a little sort of test tube vase. So just wonderful ways you can use that. There we go. So we're going to create something just nice and simple because that's what I feel like at the moment. And I'm going to use, which one am I going to use? I'm going to use this floral here. Now, because something is black doesn't mean you have to create it in black, not at all. So what I'm going to do is grab a piece of copier paper, which I haven't grabbed, because I always forget to grab a piece of copier paper, and that's a little bit too big. So let's just cut the copier paper up just so it's a little bit short because I've got so much on my desk. And I'm just going to place this copier paper just here like so. You could add some low tack tape if you wish, just to keep it in place. I'm not going to bother. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use antique linen, and I will explain why I'm using antique linen once I've stamped the first flower. Now, because I have this masked off here, I can have the flower at whatever sort of heights I want it to have. So let's have this one a little bit shorter here, like so. Let's grab that a little bit shorter. I think my copier paper's moved, but that doesn't matter. So we'll have that a little bit shorter. Now just give the oxide a little bit of time just to grab hold of the surface of the card. There we go. Oh no, that's wonderful. So now I can add another one with the antique linen. I'm using a pale colour because then I can change that colour. But I'm going to explain why I'm not using, on this occasion, the VersaFine Claire Sand Dune. So I'll explain that when we've just stamped our designs. I'm sorry about a little bit of glare, because sometimes we need a light because of the weather at this time of year and it's not very bright. So then I'm going to add this one, let's make sure we are on that. Going to add this one a little bit higher, like so. So the oxides are great. You can stamp with them. They are a dye pigment fusion, which means they've got an opaque quality because of that pigment. So they do have an opaque quality, which is perfect for the stamping. Don't worry if you don't get a perfect image, because you're going to colour that anyway. Now, when I've stamped with the oxides, I always like to give that stamp a clean, mainly because if you then go to your stamp and you're using VersaFine Clair, your Nocturne, you're not going to get a crisp, clean image because you've got that layer of oxide ink on there, which is understandable. Now, you've seen me in videos before where I use the sand dune to stamp the images and then colour. However, if you're using Zig Clean Colour brush pens, if you use an oil-based ink, which is the sand dune, the water-based pens don't blend as easily. With this being a water-based sort of pigment, I'll be able to add watercolour pens on the top. So let me just grab them. So for this one, I'm going to use my Ecoline pens because I used some Zig Clean Colour ones in a workshop, and Katinka mentioned to me, was there a reason I'd used the Zig Clean Colour rather than the Ecoline? No, there isn't. There's obviously a wider variety of colours in the Clean Colour brush pens, but no, there was no reason. So what I'm going to do is use my Ecolines just for the lovely Katinka. Right, let's have a look. Let's do it in some blues. So I don't want that one. This is where Tracy faffs. So I'm going to use my Ecoline pens. I'm going to use, I don't want that one either. Honestly, I always pick the wrong ones. So I'm going to use turquoise blue, which is 522. And I'm going to use Prussian blue, which is 508. Do I want a little bit of green? No, I'm just going to use those blues, but I might get a green out for the little bar. Let me see what this says. That'll do. So I've always loved my Ecoline pens, but you, like anything, when you're blending with water, your cardstock is important. You need to make sure that the card allows you to move that ink. I'm going to take the acrylic block here because I can add I don't know what's on there, but I think there's a bit of glue on there. I'm going to use my acrylic block as sort of my paint palette. I've got hair on there as well. That's off my jumper. So I'm doing well, really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my little paintbrush. We'll grab a little bit of water so that it's ready. We'll move that stamp set out of the way. And then I can change these colours if I wish. If you wanted to, you could colour those in a beigey colour anyway. And it would look lovely. I don't think there's a darker brown in the... No, but you could use your Ecolines and use... You could use your browns if you wished, but I'm going to... You see, the browns would look lovely as well. Oh, I can't make my mind up now. No, let's do blues. But you can see, even from me just umming and ahhing, you could do it in so many colour combinations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour with the darkest colour first. And I'm just going to do one at a time. Now, mind your pens don't roll onto your surface. Now, I'm going to blend pen to pen. And I'm going to scribble some of the lightest colour on there on my acrylic block as a paint palette. I'm then going to pick up some water and just dissolve that. Dissolve, dilute, not dissolve. And then I'm just going to drag this out like so. So it blends beautifully. But if I'm going to blend pen to pen, it's important that you do it wet. So I can go back in, add the darker colour. Now these pens are very juicy. And then just go back to the pen and colour with the lighter colour, which is your turquoise blue. And then I like to use the diluted version of the light colour, which is the turquoise, and just blend those out. Turn your card over and you can see that's not bled through. So I'm going to do the same with the others. So we'll just add a little bit of that dark blue. And because I'm blending pen to pen, it's important that that pigment is wet. If you try to do it when it's, I don't know what, I've sprayed water on there when I could have sprayed water on here. Can you see that is far too wet? So we'll just grab some kitchen roll, and always have some kitchen roll. Let's just mop that up. Always have some kitchen roll on one side so that if you've got too much moisture, you can just blot that out. And that's definitely got a darker, it's darker than this floral here. So I'm going to come in and add a second layer. That's the Prussian blue, and then use the turquoise blue just to blend. If you want, you can just blend with water, but I like to blend with a watered down version of the same light colour because it gives the same tone of colour, and just blend that out. And the brown underneath obviously gives it a slightly darker tone. If it was a white base, then it would also give a different feel. So we're just going to, again, the Prussian blue, then the turquoise, and blend with the turquoise, add a bit more of that colour, pick up a little bit of water, and then blend out with that colour. And you can, if you want, you can do all the petals and then come back and add a second layer of colour, whichever works for you. You just need to make sure that if you're blending pen to pen, then you need to do that whilst it's wet. You don't have to blend pen to pen. You can just blend that out and then add your turquoisey blue if you wish. I just like doing it this way. I love the richness of colour. Little bit of water, take off the excess moisture, and then I'm working with something that is not too wet, and because it's not too wet, the colour doesn't run away with me. So we'll just add that colour. Now the website has free shipping at the moment until Monday. The free shipping for the UK is on orders of £10 and above, and for overseas it's £50. The minimum spend, mainly because overseas postage is a lot more expensive. So I can come back in, add some more of this colour, and then blend again just with that diluted colour. So it's entirely up to you how you like to colour your designs. So with the free shipping, the UK, you have to, the code is applied automatically. But with the overseas, you just enter a code. I think it's free ship is the code, all uppercase. So then just add a little bit more, and then take, and then we'll just pick up the diluted colour. If you've got too much moisture, just have that there. And you've just then got a beautiful blend of colour, which works really nicely. So I'm just then going to add a few dots just of my, can't speak, Prussian blue. I think it's Prussian. I did say Prussian, didn't I? Yeah, Prussian blue, which is the 508. And then I can just go in and just add a little bit of the turquoise. Just to add to that. And I'm just dotting that colour on because I can add some touches of white once that has dried. I'm then going to take a little bit of the blue, just to the stems, just to give it the sort of monochromatic look, and then blend with the turquoise. Didn't put the darker colour there. So just blend with the turquoise, this one. Just blend with a little bit of the turquoise. I like to do one floral at a time. If you like to do everything all in one go, that's great. It's just that I find that you can blend the colours much better if they're still wet, rather than trying to blend something that is drying. There we go. So we've got our lovely, and I love that sort of watercolour feel. So we're then going to colour the next floral. And because I know what I'm doing, and you know what I'm doing, and it still stays wet, I can do the two florals at the same time. Pick up a little bit of that, and then we can just blend those colours out. A little bit of water again. If you've got too much, take your kitchen roll. And if you work with a little bit of moisture, it's so much easier to control because it doesn't run away with you, which is what you want. I'll add another layer of the colour just in a second. So again, blend pen to pen. And then we'll pick up some of the turquoise. So then you're creating a wash of the turquoise that you're then blending that floral out with. And then you can add your second layer so that it's a little bit darker. Just add a second layer of colour just so that you get a little bit more depth, and then you can pick up your wash and add a second layer of the wash and blend out those lines beautifully. But I've got the kitchen roll here because you don't want the pens to roll onto the surface of your card. And you know why I know that? Because it will be from experience. The times that I have sat here colouring away and then the pen has rolled, and because they are quite sort of, you know, a fluid, moist pen, the ink is then rolled onto my card and I've got marks on the card. You always learn these things from mistakes you've made yourself. So those three there might not be visible in camera, but it's darker here because I've added another layer of the colour just with those. Whoa, I nearly dropped it then. With those pens. So just adding another layer just to give more depth. Again, pick up that wash of colour, take off the excess moisture, and then you can blend out the colour. Should you wish. We can then, like we did before, add the darker colour to your stem. Then add a little bit of the lighter colour. And then take that wash. So pick up your wash. Again, just check there's not too much moisture on there. Mainly because you don't want to flood that area. There we go. You create a nice sort of blend quite nicely. And you can come in and just, and obviously if you add more moisture, it's going to slightly bleed out, which is absolutely fine. I'm then going to take the Prussian blue and I'm just going to dot that over the card. Let's put the lid on that now, because we won't make, just for now while we, then we'll add some of the turquoise just to the centre. Now I don't need to blend these out because I'm dotting, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some white to that eventually. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go along, which way shall I go? Let's go dark. So I'm going to add dark and then the lighter colour. Then I'm going to add dark. Then I'm going to add the light colour. Then the dark. Then the light. Then the dark. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's just put the lid on these, because we're then just going to spritz just so that it just runs a little bit. There you go. And don't worry about the stems of your floral. You want that to run a bit just to add to the whole effect. Okay, just so that it adds to the whole effect. And then spritz right high up, really high up, so that you spritz the florals a little bit. Okay. And then it's up to you if you want to keep it that dark, if you want to keep the colour. If you don't, you can dab little bits up if you wish. So say you don't want a little bit there, you can just dab that up, just so that it's a little bit more gentle. But you can see how pigmented the Ecoline pens are. I do love Ecoline pens on Bristol Smooth. It works beautifully as well on Bristol Smooth. So let's grab our heat tool. And we'll give that a little bit of a dry. Now you do need a card that is going to allow that to react. You want it to be able to react. If you want to add more water, you can. Again, you need a card that is going to allow that to happen. Now I'm just going to really hold this high up and then spritz the florals again and again and again and again. But you can see I'm doing it very lightly. And then just give that a dry. Just want that to be a little bit more watery. There you go. And it will start to react, and then just give it a dry. You can also, if you've got an area where it just seems like there's a load of water and it's not doing anything, you can just dab that up. Now your card is bound to curl. We can heat it from the other side. Let's grab that bit of water there where it's not doing anything. We can dry it from the other side. So give this a thorough dry, and then use a clean piece of kitchen roll, and you can just dab your card. Let's dab here, and then let's turn the card over, just so we can heat that from the other side. I've actually got a little iron, so you can iron the card if you want. I know life's too short really for ironing, but I have got a little iron just for card making. It's a very tiny sort of portable one. So just dab now, just dab your card. Make sure you're using clean kitchen roll. But it gives it a really lovely sort of watery feel. I love it. Absolutely love it. So it just gives it a really nice watery feel. I'm then going to grab, where are you? The barley blue. Now, because if I'm not sure what a colour looks like, I'll take the piece of copier paper. There you go, it's perfect. And I'll just test it on a piece of the copier paper or a piece of the same pink frog card. Now I've already got this stamp out because I'm doing a live workshop on Saturday, and we've got, what it is it's called Workshop 115. It's on the website, and it's 5 live workshops at the weekend over 5 weeks. And I'm doing the live workshops, and it's £30. It's on the website, Workshop 115, and we're creating 5 different, actually there might be more than 5 cards, but there's 5 cards, just simple ideas, but so we can spend some time together. If you don't want to watch it on Facebook Live, you can watch it pre-recorded after the live's finished, and I'll add it to YouTube. So I'm now going to take my TE11, the background elements, and just add a little touch of background stamping. Now let's have a look at the dark. So let's see what it looks like with second generation. I think it looks quite nice with the second generation. It goes nicely with that watery kind of effect. And you should know by now, I adore this stamp. So I'm just adding the TE11. Let's just, and you can see that I'm just pressing this with my one finger. Doesn't need anything much more than that. So I'm actually using barley blue, which is a beautiful colour, but works quite nicely with my project. You can also add a little bit of text to the little bar that we've got here. So let's just add that, and let's just add a little bit here, like so. So just a nice touch of text. And because it's a very fine text, it really goes with that watery feel. There we go. So let's hold that up so that you can see. Just so that you can see. It really adds to our watery feel of the card. Okay, so I want to add a little something else. I'm going to take TE32 again, and I think I'm going to add, I'm either going to add, you could add a squirrel, you could add a mouse, you could add a little hare, but I think I'm going to add a pheasant. You can put the pheasants together if you wish and stamp them together. Let me just have a look. I see I want them in different places, maybe. I can never make my mind up. Now, there's still going to be a little bit of moisture in that card, so just be aware of that. A little bit of over inking there. So I'm going to add one little pheasant here. Now, because I've used a lighter colour and it's that water reactive pigments, I can then stamp over the top with my VersaFine Clair Nocturne and it won't react, which is perfect. Just beautiful. I can then take the other pheasant. I can just hear my husband singing that. Is it a rhyme? I won't say it, but yes, he always says it every time I say pheasant. Right. So we then take the pheasant facing the other way. Again, take our black ink, and I'm just tilting it one to see if it's wet with ink and to make sure I've got no fibres on there. So let's just add that here. Now, I love having this little rectangle, all the squares, just because then it allows me just to embellish beautifully, and it sits really nicely. It makes me happy, things like that do. Now, if I want to, I can add wording in here. I can either add all the letters on here in one go, or you can just stamp them individually. So we'll stamp those in our black. It doesn't really matter if you get them straight or not, to be honest. You just turn your acrylic block. So, and you only need to press very lightly. You don't need to press too hard. So, but the only problem is you end up saying the alphabet to yourself the whole time. So just be aware of that. You'll just go A, B, C, D, E, F, G because you can't help yourself. And with your alphabets, don't worry about getting everything perfectly straight. That sort of adds to the quirkiness. And then you can take your O a little bit further up. But just remember, don't press too hard. See, I'm saying the alphabet to myself now because you just say it automatically. You spend your whole life going A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Can't help it. So you only need to sort of touch. I'm doing it again, look. Can't help myself. I'm trying to stop. Look at that. You see, that is not even straight on there, but it doesn't matter because you just turn your acrylic block. I am really trying my hardest not to say the alphabet. But can you see where this little rectangle or whatever really works quite nicely to add our little words? There's the S. Now, there are some duplicate letters so that you can spell things out a lot easier if you wish. So there are a few extra letters on the alphabet. I'll just show you those. Let's just cover our black ink pad. You've got an extra A, E, T, S, O and I, just so that it makes it easier for you to spell letters. Doesn't it work really nicely? I just love it. So I'm then going to take my white pen, which would be too much to hope that it was out. And really, you should wait until everything is dry. So I'm going to add a little bit, she says, going to add a little bit of white pen. Let's just... What happens is if I use my white pen with my waxy pencils, it picks up some of that wax. So just adding a few little touches of white. Now I'm going to add touches of white just to the centre of this floral. And now I've got the blue underneath. It works really nicely. Just adding the white on the top just to make that pop a little bit more. I'm going to add a few touches of white just to my petals. So it's up to you where you add the white. Don't complicate it too much. You're just adding touches of white just to make it pop. There we go. And you can go back once everything is dry again and just add another layer of white once everything is dry. So we'll just add a little touch of white to the stem. So just those little white touches just make everything pop a little bit. I'm just going to add a little bit of white there. And then I'm going to take my grey ink tense pencil. Now I am well aware that the blue is going to react as well, but because my black is darker in colour, it shouldn't be too noticeable. As long, look at the pigment in there, as long as I make sure that that brush is clean. But can you see the pigment in the Ecoline pens? Really rich in pigment. I'm just going to touch that with a little bit of moisture, then I'm going to clean my brush, take a little bit off, and then just blend out and soften those edges a little bit more. There we go. It just works quite nicely. I'm then going to add some splatters, but I'm going to be considered. There you go. So I've got a splatter there. Now what you need to make sure you do with your Posca pens is get them flowing, so the paint is flowing, so it's nice and juicy. That's what you need. If you don't make sure that your Posca pen is flowing and nice and juicy, you can't get a really good splatter. So what you need to do is give your Posca pen a really good shake, give it a little light pump on the non-stick craft sheet or a piece of card, and then you can get that flowing a little bit. Obviously it will pick up the blue that is in the background, but I like that effect anyway. Just love that. Nice simple card idea. I'm going to grab a mat and lay it and a card blank. Of course, you would make it easy on yourself and you would not try to adhere this whilst everything is still wet. You would make sure that it's all dried. So I'm just going to hope that my adhesive gets going. Now, if you use double-sided tape, it grabs hold of the card really quickly and it'll stop your card from bending. However, I am absolutely diabolical with double-sided tape because I've got so used to being able to move the card and have that manoeuvrability that I don't like using double-sided tape. So I'm just pressing in the centre of that card. And I know some of you love to use double-sided tape and then just pull it from the back and you find it easy that way. But I like to use my wet adhesive. There's no drying out then once it's grabbed hold. So I've used a black mat. So my card that I worked on was 4x6. My black mat is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And my card blank that I'm going to place this onto is 5x7. And I'm just being sort of gingerly adding that, because obviously I've got wet Posca pen on my card. And this is why you would wait until things dry. Let's make sure that card is going the right way. Yes, it is. And then I've added it to a 5 by 7 inch card blank, which just sort of finishes that off really nicely. And the only thing I'm doing is giving that adhesive time just to grab hold, and we're sorted. There we go. And that is your card done, and it's completely flat, no cutting out, just so that you can see that there's no cutting out, but it's got the dimension with the colouring. I'm really pleased with that. I absolutely love it. So I hope you enjoyed that simple demo and you'll give it a go. Love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.